Hey y'all, what's going on? Today I am back with another prediction video. It's been a while, I'm sorry. Today I am predicting the outcome of every single bowl game for the 2020-2021 college football season. Yes, the bowls were just announced yesterday, so I'm going to go ahead and predict them. So this bowl game might be done before my prediction video is actually out on YouTube because this bowl game is already today. I didn't actually realize they were already starting bowl games this early, but that makes sense because the season's really been kind of added an extra couple weeks on because of COVID. So this bowl game is the Myrtle Beach Bowl between Appalachian State and North Texas. Appalachian State's favored by 21 points. I don't know how they would lose this game, especially since North Texas is 4-5. So I'm going to go Appalachian State, definitely. Next one. Hopefully I have the video out before this one's out. I should, but this one is Tulane versus Nevada in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Now, Tulane is a 3-point favorite, but Nevada has a 6-2 record. Tulane has a 6-5 record. I'm going to go with Nevada. I don't think Tulane wins this game. The American Conference, in my opinion, is a pretty good conference. I think they're better than the Pac-12 this year. But I don't know, Nevada's 6-2 record. I think Nevada's got this one. There's usually a lot of upsets in bowl seasons, too, when the spread is this close, of course. Next one is the roofclaim.com Boca Raton Bowl against UCF and BYU. This one should be a really interesting matchup. Both teams have been disrespected by the committee. BYU this year, UCF last year. Although BYU did lose a game, so did they really get disrespected by the committee? At first they were, and then they lost to Coastal Carolina, and now the ranking's about where they probably should be. BYU's a 7-point favorite, and I got BYU in this one. UCF, not the team they were in 2017 or 2018. If this was 2017 or 2018, I would pick UCF, but it's not. It's BYU this year. BYU is a really good team. I don't think they're going to be all, mad they didn't get into the New Year's Six bowl game. I think they understand they weren't going to have a chance to get in there, so they're going to come to this game prepared, and I think they're going to win. Next one is the R+L Carriers New Orleans Bowl against Louisiana Tech against Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern is 6.5-point favorites. Honestly, a lot of these games early on, I really don't know much about the team other than maybe BYU. I don't really know much about either one of these teams, so I'm just going to go with Georgia Southern because the spread is in their favor. Louisiana Tech will probably win the game, but I don't really know much about either team to really say much about them, so I'll go with Georgia Southern. The Montgomery Bowl, Memphis against FAU. Memphis is 8-point favorites. Now, Memphis last year was in a New Year's Six bowl game, so this obviously is a letdown from last year, but I mean 7-3 season still good. FAU, Florida Atlantic 5-3 season. I'm gonna go with Memphis on this one. I don't know. I just think Memphis is probably gonna be the better team in this game. I guess the American Conference, All right. Next game is on Christmas Eve. Hawaii versus Houston. Houston is 13-point favorites, but Hawaii has a better record at 4-4, with Houston at 3-4. Man, I just remember the season Houston was really good. I think 2016, I think it was. They've fallen off a lot since then. They're 13-point favorites here. Hawaii to New Mexico, that's a long travel. I'm going to go with Houston. I'm not just picking every game that the spread favors. Trust me, I will pick some upsets eventually. I already did one earlier, but that wasn't really much of an upset. So I'm going to go with Houston in this one. Marshall against Buffalo. Marshall started the season off undefeated. So did Buffalo. Marshall has completely fallen off a cliff. They lost to Rice and, they lost to UAB now? I don't know what's happened to Marshall. They're playing also the runners-up from the MAC conference in Buffalo. I got Buffalo in this one. I mean, Marshall's fallen off a cliff. I think Buffalo's the better team in this one. The next one, this is a non-New Year's Six bowl game, or really a non-big bowl game that I'm actually kind of looking forward to. I'll probably be working this day, so I won't be able to see it, but it's the FBC Mortgage Cure Bowl, Liberty against Coastal Carolina. Now, this game was supposed to happen in the regular season. Liberty had to cancel because of COVID, so I'm actually really glad this bowl game is actually happening. I think Coastal Carolina is deserving of a New Year's Six bowl game, but, they got put in this game. Them and Indiana got robbed of New Year's Six bowl games, in my opinion. Instead, they put Iowa State in for some reason. I don't know why the committee loves Iowa State so much, but they do, so I guess good for them. But, yeah. Liberty, in my opinion, is a top 25 team. In the AP, they're a top 25. So, yeah. But, I mean, Are they going to be Coastal? I mean, Liberty has some good wins. Don't get me wrong. If Liberty would have beat NC State and they'd be undefeated, that'd be like a good record. Not better than Coastal Carolina's record, but that'd be a really good record. Liberty's having a great year, but so is Coastal. I got Coastal winning this game. They're 5.5-point favorites. I'm going to take Coastal. Louisiana versus UTSA in the SERVPRO First Responder Bowl. Louisiana's a ranked team. They have a good win over Iowa State. I think they're ranked low in my opinion. I would have them more about 15th, 16th, 17th, or 19th right now. So they're a couple spots lower than I think they should be. Yeah, I'm going to go Louisiana in this game. I mean, I don't know how UTSA actually wins this game. I think Louisiana's a really good team. I wish the Sun Belt Conference Championship game would have happened. It probably would have been a much better game than the Clemson-Notre Dame game because, man, those two teams, they're good Sun Belt teams. I mean, the Sun Belt has two really good teams this year. I don't see how Louisiana loses this game. The next one is the Lending Tree Bowl, Western Kentucky against Georgia State. Georgia State is 4.5-point favorites. I'm going to go Western Kentucky. I don't know. I don't know why. Once again, I know nothing about either one of these teams. I just wanted to pick an upset. And Western Kentucky, it seems like a good time to pick an upset. So I got Western Kentucky. Next one is the Cheez-it Bowl. Oklahoma State versus Miami. This is the first one I am predicting with a ranked matchup. Oklahoma State's 2-point favorites. I get why. Miami looked horrible against North Carolina. Miami tends to do this. Every time Miami has a good season, they tend to somehow blow it in a horrible game. All Miami had to do was beat North Carolina and they would have been in a New Year's Six bowl game. So Miami screwed that opportunity up. Probably a good thing they didn't. They would have got blown out in that game. This one I think is going to be close. I'm going to go with Oklahoma State with the spread. I was thinking maybe I pick Miami, but nah. When they have bad losses like that against North Carolina, the bowl game usually does not go their way either. So I got Oklahoma State. Texas versus Colorado. Texas sometimes can have really good bowl games. Remember in Georgia when Sam Ehlinger screamed "We're back," and sometimes they can have letdowns. I think this is going to be a letdown. I think Colorado is going to win this game. A big win for the Pac-12 because I don't know about Oregon's chances in the New Year's Six bowl game, but Colorado, I think this is their. I mean, I haven't really seen many Pac-12 teams. They're only, like 2 playing? There's not a lot of Pac-12 teams playing. So, I got Colorado in this game. Texas, overrated like usual. I don't know. I guess they deserve to be ranked, but, I mean, do they really? I guess they had a really close loss against Oklahoma. I don't know. They're a 3-loss team. I got Colorado. I think Colorado jumps back into the final rankings after beating Texas. And Texas is 13-point favorites, by the way, so that's a pretty big upset I'm making. Wake Forest against Wisconsin. This is an interesting one. Both teams are at the 500. Wisconsin is 6.5-point favorites. And the first 2 games of the season, Wisconsin, if they didn't miss all that games for COVID, I don't know where they would be at, but man, they looked like a really good team. When they blew out, I think, Illinois, and then they blew out Michigan, when Michigan was still close to a top 25 team. I think they just dropped out, but people thought that was going to be Michigan's redemption chance, and they looked horrible. Wisconsin looked like a really good team. And then they play Northwestern. That didn't go well. And they play Indiana, and again, they could do nothing offensively. And then they played Iowa, and again, they did nothing offensively. I mean, their quarterback was, after his first game, he was a Heisman candidate at one point. They're like, man, he's a really serious contention for the Heisman. Remember that? He has done nothing offensively his past three out of the last 4 games. I don't know what happened against Minnesota. They won. It went to overtime. I got Wisconsin here because I don't see how they lose to Wake Forest. But, I mean, I would not be shocked if Wake Forest knocks off Wisconsin. Wisconsin, they're not that good of a team. They proved it against 3 good opponents, I guess. But they were supposed to be a lot better than that this season. But I guess so was Michigan. And they're not even in a bowl game, which is probably good because they probably would lose to, like, any team they got put up against. So, yeah, that sucks. Next matchup, Iowa against Missouri. I don't know why Missouri is in this bowl game. I guess they didn't have anyone else to pin against Iowa. Missouri was ranked a couple weeks ago, and I don't understand why. I don't know what the committee was thinking ranking a 3-loss Missouri team. But, yeah, they've shown they're not that good. So I got Iowa. I think, man, if Iowa doesn't lose those first 2 games, or Iowa doesn't lose to Northwestern, more importantly, where are they? Do they have a chance against Ohio State? I think they do. Iowa has just gotten better as the season's gone along, and them losing their first 2 games really just kind of put them really far behind to where they couldn't make up that deficit. I think Iowa's a good team, and I think they beat Missouri. Florida against Oklahoma. The first New Year's Six bowl game I'm predicting is the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. I think Coastal Carolina and Indiana should be in New Year's Six bowl games over teams like Florida and Iowa State with 3 losses. But I get why Florida's in it. I don't get why Iowa State's in it, but I do get the Florida reasoning. They had a really close loss to the best team in the country. I understand that. Florida's a good team. So is Oklahoma. This should be a really interesting matchup because I think, maybe not Florida, but Oklahoma's playing their best football. Florida, last week, they played offensively in the SEC Championship game. Their best football all year in a loss. And they had the LSU game, which was not pretty. I got Oklahoma here because I think Florida's going to drop to 4 losses, and they're still going to be ranked in the top 12. Well, no, maybe because if the AP poll is ranking them, then Florida will drop farther. But I think Florida, this promising here. I mean, in my first video I made on this channel, I had Florida going to the championship game. Or, sorry, not the championship game. The Final Four, whatever it's called, the playoffs. Instead of Alabama, which was not close to happening. But, I mean, Florida doesn't blow up to LSU and beats Alabama. They're in the playoffs. So I think that was a prediction I am proud about. Because it did almost happen until they blew it to LSU and couldn't come back against Alabama. But yeah, I got Oklahoma in this game. Oklahoma, yeah, they're trending upwards. They had 2 horrible games early on, but now they're playing their best football. So that's why I think Oklahoma's going to beat Florida. One is the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl with Tulsa against Mississippi State. I'll go a little bit quicker here. I mean, Mississippi State's not a good team. Tulsa almost beat Cincinnati, which in my opinion is a top 6 team, even though the committee has them at 8. I got Tulsa over Mississippi State. The Arizona Bowl, Ball State versus San Jose State. The winner of the MAC against the winner of the Mountain West Conference. I think it'll be a really interesting matchup. I think San Jose completes its perfect season. They're going to be one of the few teams undefeated. I think they're going to beat Ball State here. I think they're going to be one of the few teams left undefeated. And whether one of those teams left undefeated is in the playoffs, I don't know. You'll find out in a little bit, though. But, yeah, I think San Jose State ends up with an 8-0 season. They're, 7-point favorites over Ball State. I was surprised Ball State beat Buffalo because I thought Buffalo was going to win that. And that would have been a really cool matchup if it was Buffalo versus San Jose State and both teams could possibly be ranked, which probably would have happened. That would have been a cool matchup, but, Buffalo lost, so we'll have to settle for San Jose State and Ball State, but I got San Jose State. Arkansas versus TCU. Once again, another bad SEC team that is in a bowl game. Arkansas actually had a decent year this year, but they always suck, so they still only went 3-7. With 3 wins in the SEC for Arkansas, that is better than most years. Still, though, I got TCU. They're 5.5-point favorites. There's too many bad SEC teams in these, man. Like, come on. The Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, another New Year's Six bowl game. Georgia against Cincinnati. Cincinnati wants to make a statement to the committee, but at this point, what's the point? The committee won't care. They just won't care. Even when UCF beat Auburn a couple years ago, they didn't care. I don't think they care at all now. Cincinnati's going to win this game. Georgia's a good team, I will say. They're trending upwards, but I got Cincinnati in this game. I think Cincinnati beats Georgia. Really do. Georgia's actually 7-point favorites, which I think is ridiculous. I think Cincinnati's the better team here. I really do. Georgia, they started off with a quarterback situation. They now have a good quarterback. They're playing good football, but Georgia's not coming to this game mentally prepared. They never do. They never come to this game mentally prepared. But maybe they do because they weren't just close to missing out in the playoffs. So maybe Georgia comes more prepared than in the past. But nah, I got Cincinnati. They should have been top 6. And playoff. They should have been considered for a playoff spot. That's all I'll say. They should have been considered for that top 4, but the committee put Florida ahead of them in the rankings. That is ridiculous. I won't rant about Cincinnati anymore. The Verbo Citrus Bowl, Auburn against Northwestern. Northwestern should win this game. They're 3.5-point favorites. They should, but I feel like this is just going to be a letdown for Northwestern. They played really good against Ohio State until they couldn't do anything offensively. I think Auburn gets the win here. It feels something just feels like Auburn's going to win this bowl game. Northwestern, I think, is going to have a letdown in this bowl game when they should have been able to win. I don't know. I got Auburn. I think Northwestern's a better team, but bowl games there's always some surprises, and this would be one of the more bigger surprises. So I got Auburn. Even after they fired their head coach, I still got Auburn. Next up would be the playoff games, but I'm going to save those for last. You know, we got to save the entertaining ones for last. So the next one is the day later, Saturday, January 2nd, is the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl, NC State against Kentucky. Once again, another SEC team under 500 in bowl games. There's so many SEC teams. I guess all the other conferences opted out, so they had to put SEC in because that's really the only conference that didn't opt out. So I guess I can't blame them. But yeah, they're playing NC State. Give me NC State. I'm not taking a SEC team that's under 500. I'm definitely not taking them in this game. Outback Bowl, Ole Miss versus Indiana. I know Indiana does not have their starting quarterback, but they are a one-loss team that lost by a touchdown to a playoff team. Beat Wisconsin, which really wasn't as good of a win as it looked like at the time, but Indiana should be in a New Year's Six bowl game over Iowa State. There's no doubt in my mind they should be in a bowl game over Iowa State. I think Indiana, and so does the AP poll, a top 8 team. The AP poll has Indiana ranked 7th, yet they're not in a bowl game because the playoff committee has them at 11th, and because of Oregon winning the Pac-12 and having to put North Carolina in one, Indiana gets screwed out of the bowl game. They're, in my opinion, they're the team that's most screwed. And what are they rewarded with as a bowl game? They get put against Ole Miss in the Outback Bowl. Ole Miss is another team that is under 500. Indiana's defense, I will say, better come to play in this game. This could be a game that Ole Miss wins because their offense is electric, but their defense can't do anything. So if Michael Penix Jr. was playing, I would go with Indiana solidly. I'm still going to pick Indiana. I could see how Indiana loses this game, but I'm not picking against Indiana. They got robbed of a New Year's Six bowl game. The last two before the playoffs are New Year's Six bowl games. It is Oregon against Iowa State, the least important New Year's Six bowl game. Iowa State, who should not be in one, and Oregon only got there because they had to put the Pac-12 champion in one. I'm going to go with Iowa State. Oregon's not a good team. They only won the Pac-12 because the entirety of the Pac-12 this year sucked. You could say USC was good, but they weren't. They won 5 very close games. They barely beat Arizona when Arizona State put, 70 points on them or something? So I got Iowa State. They're going to win a New Year's Six bowl game when they shouldn't even be in one. This should be Indiana in this game, but nope. Capital One Orange Bowl, Texas A&M versus North Carolina. Texas A&M is 6.5-point favorites. I think A&M comes with a chip on their shoulder. I don't think they come unprepared like Georgia. Because when Georgia did it, they had already sniffed the playoffs and the championship game and almost won it, and they lost. So I get why Georgia was upset about that, and didn't want to come to play that one year. Texas A&M is going to come to play, and North Carolina's offense, they're good, but no, I got A&M in this game. I don't think A&M should have been in the playoffs, but if it just should be 8 teams. Because I think the top 4 teams they got right, I guess, because Notre Dame does have a good win, a better win than Texas A&M does. So I understand why Notre Dame's in there. They both have blowout losses. It's a shame because I really wanted to see a new team in the playoffs, and with this 4-team playoffs, are we ever going to get that? Because we're always going to have Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and Oklahoma. It's always going to be those 4 teams. And 3 out of those 4 teams are usually always going to get there. So it's a shame. It's happened every year since 2014. 3 out of those 4 teams have made it to the playoffs every year besides 2014. When will we change? It's time to change. I got A&M in this game, though. Speaking of the playoffs, the last 2 games, Alabama against Notre Dame. Alabama is a 19.5-point favorites. I think this is the biggest blowout this is projected to be the biggest blowout out of all the New Year's Six bowl games. And it's a playoff game. I could go on a rant about the playoffs, but I'm not going to. I'm going to control myself. I don't want to make this video longer than it has to be. But why are we not expanding the playoffs when everyone wants the playoffs to be expanded? We're getting this matchup, which, of course, Alabama against, 8th seeded, I don't know whether it be Cincinnati or do you want the Pac-12 champion in as well, Oregon. It'll be a blowout as well, probably. But we need to give more teams a chance. We saw Notre Dame in the playoffs already. It wasn't pretty, and it's not going to be pretty this time. Alabama wins this game big. I don't know if I think they cover. I think they definitely win by at least 3 touchdowns. I hope Notre Dame keeps it close. I'm rooting for Notre Dame in the playoffs because it's the only one here who hasn't won a championship. So I'm rooting for Notre Dame, but I don't like their chances. Ohio State and Clemson, it's projected to be one of the better New Year's Six bowl games. It's not going to be. Clemson's winning this game big. Clemson is a really good team, and honestly, I thought Notre Dame was going to have a chance in the ACC championship game. Honestly, I was thinking Notre Dame might win the ACC championship game, and then I realized how good Trevor Lawrence is compared to not having him. Like, it's a massive difference. Notre Dame looked horrible out there. In Ohio State, you may have only played 6 games. You may be 5 games fresher than Clemson. Good luck. I would like to see you stop them because when you're barely beating Northwestern, you ain't going to beat Clemson. I'm sorry, Ohio State. You're getting blown out. Big. And what does that leave us with? The national championship game on January 11th. For the 1,000,000th time, it seems like, Clemson and Alabama are going to play each other. It's the inevitable. Why don't we just cancel like this year, the pandemic, we should have just canceled the college football season and put Clemson and Alabama in the championship game because it was going to happen any way we wanted it to. Even if we expanded to 8, this is probably the most likely outcome. I get that. But in my opinion, the more teams getting a chance to upset, the better. In my opinion, I would enjoy the playoffs more if we had 8 teams compared to 4. I would. Because there's more variety. You get a group of 5 team in. You get the A&M versus Notre Dame matchup as a semifinal. We get to see who was more deserving for that 4th spot. And so it's like that's what just makes it for me. Instead of letting it be a decision between Notre Dame and A&M, we could literally have them play if we had an 8-team playoff. It would have been Notre Dame the 4 seed, A&M the 5 seed. They could have played to see who has the right to play Alabama. But instead, we don't even get to see that. So, yeah, Alabama versus Clemson. In my first video on this channel, I predicted Clemson was going to win the championship game. I don't change my mind. I got Clemson winning the national championship game over Alabama. I think Trevor Lawrence walks out as a champion. I think Matt Jones probably wins the Heisman, but I don't think he's going to beat Clemson. I just don't. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you don't agree with any of my predictions. Do you think Clemson's going to win the national championship game? If you don't think either Clemson or Alabama is going to win the national championship game, you're insane. If you think Ohio State is going to win the national championship game, it's not happening. I'm a Michigan fan. That doesn't affect my opinion. I don't care if I was an Ohio State fan. I would still think they're not going to do good. Maybe that's not true, but yeah, I still don't think Ohio State's going to do good in that game. I think they're overrated. They only played 6 games. They only beat Indiana and Northwestern. And they barely beat them too. I mean, I don't know if Indiana's a top 10 team, but they are a top 10 team because they barely lost to Ohio State. What if Indiana gets blown out in that game? Then who's their good win? Northwestern would be their best win if Indiana gets blown out in that game. So, I don't think Ohio State has a chance. Yeah, I'm going to be done rambling on. I've been talking way too long. Hope you enjoyed the video. Yeah, and I'll see you all later. Peace.